Yeah, so can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so as I've said before, we used the clinical service and the work billing and inventory. We didn't use the lab and radiology related components because we already have those here. So coming to the electronic medical record system, I think one of the things that we have to change was we have to create multiple modules because so when I'm discussing here, I'm referencing to BAMNI 0.91 because we forked from 0.91. So during that time, we had a lot of departments here, and each department had its own specific need for a dashboard and clinical forms. So we have to separate those departments into its own module. So as you know, BAMNI comes with a single clinical module. So we tried it with that approach, but when we do it like that, as I've said, every department, the departments that you see listed here, they have their own specific needs for the dashboard arrangement, the dashboard layout, and we have a lot of forms for each department. So it made it, cumbersome. So I realized in later versions of BAMI, we have, I think, privilege-based form access. But I think here, during that time, we didn't have that. So we we needed to separate the modules into different departments. And this is done through configuration. So we did the customization once, and these modules, the different separate modules are added through configuration. So each module will have its own clinical forms, and the dashboard can be customized as per the needs of that specific department. The other thing that we did was queue management. So this queue management module is I think is specifically developed here. So this was also developed because here in our setup we had we have multiple doctors working in a single OPD. Right? So in a single location, in a single OPD, we'll have multiple desks. We have 4 desks, 5 desks. So each doctor will see its own patient. So with the existing arrangement, you can send patients you can assign patients to a specific location. But since that was not enough for us, we needed to add, queue management. So the way the queue management works is that actually the application when it was developed, uh, you know, like you can create a disk, multiple disks for a single location, and you can assign, like you can name the queue, you can select a service. So for us to make it simple, we just name them disk 1, disk 2, but you can also give it any name here. Then you can select a doctor, right? You can actually tie that queue to a specific doctor, and then you can specify the number of tokens that or the number of patients that queue will serve. But for us, how we use it is a little bit different. We didn't want to tie specific doctors with queues because our hospital is a teaching hospital and doctors, they rotate a lot. So, for example, if you go to an OPD today, you might find, Dr. X. Tomorrow, if you go there, you will find a different doctor, right? So since our doctors rotate frequently uh, throughout our OPD, we didn't want to tie, the queues to specific doctors. So the way we used it is we just assign when you create queues, we just created, some dummy, placeholder doctor for queue doctor. And when the doctor, when they log in and when they try to access, the clinical module, they can select actually, for example, if I select an OPD with multiple desks, for example, so they can select a desk here. So like they can select desk 1, desk 2. So they know where they are sitting. So if a doctor is sitting at desk 2, he or she can select desk 2. And if they go to my desk, they will see the patients that are assigned at that specific desk. So this was another thing that we have added. Again, this was also need-based since we have multiple doctors working in a single location or in a single OPD. The other thing that we have to, I mean, we have made a lot of changes, but in the interest of time, I will not be going through all of them. Honestly, I don't actually remember all of them because it has been 4 years, and we have made a lot of changes uh, based on requirements that were raised by end users. So I'm just mentioning, major things that we have done that might be, of interest to you in your release that's coming up. The other thing that we have to do was we have to include, like we have some diagnostic units. For example, we have endoscopy unit, we have cardiology diagnostic units. For this unit, they have their own specialized forms, but those forms, I mean, they have to be associated with, order. For example, if it is a lab order, like you have here, like for example, if somebody sent a lab order, BAMI has something called order fulfillment, right here. So we can go here and in order fulfillment, somebody can come in and they can fill in, the result. But the problem with our diagnostic unit is they are not using some generic, some generic input fields. They have their own specific format or they have their own specific formats they want to use to fulfill, the given order. And on top of that, that also has to be the payment status of that order has to be also considered when allowing, the physicians there to actually fill that form. So for that, we have to make some customization. So maybe I'll show you an example here. For example, we have here the GI diagnostic. So this is where endoscopy colonoscopy is done. So if I open, so this is the test patient that we have here in the system. So if I come here, by the way, this we have changed the layout here. This is also based on user requirement. I think the default BAM, configuration is like this. So we have to add these two layout features here because users found this to be more easier to access patients and also access the dashboard. So here, for example, we have two forms. So the first one is the colonoscopy report form. The second one is upper GI endoscopy report form. So for these forms, so we need to add, we need to add, an extra BAMNI order form control, which will allow us to select order for this patient, right? So the physician will select an order here, and while selecting the order, you can see the payment status. So if the payment is pending, then the physician cannot type here. So the physician cannot fill the form, right? Until the patient actually pays for this order, because this is an order that has been ordered for this patient previously. So if we come to investigation, here we have gastrointestinal section. So here, physicians at OPD location, they can order, uh, investigation that will go to the gastrointestinal unit, or the gastrointestinal diagnostic unit. So when you select the order here, so it will see the payment status and it will bring up the form. So this is, this is the custom form control. Also, this one is also a custom form control. This is a rich text control. So they use this format to report their findings. And it's also something that we have added. They need to draw something. They need to illustrate their findings. So these things are also added in our version of PAMI here. So the thing is, so this form that they are using is very specific to that unit. So we have different units that have this requirement. Like the GI unit is one of them. We have cardiology diagnostic unit, both for pediatrics and for adults, and some other units that need this functionality. So the moment the payment for this order is made, this thing will be open, and they can actually fill this form. And when they save this form, this observation will be associated with this order. So the result will show up not separately as as as, as other family forms, but it will come like as here. It will come here. For example, if I feel that form there, it will come as part of the order. Right? It will be attached here. So that this is one of the things that we have to do to address those units. The other things, I mean, most of the things that we have done is that has to do with some user interface UX and UI designs. We have to change the way the orders are presented. So we change its layout into two columns layouts, and we put the departments on the left and the orders on the right. The other thing is, I think, I don't know if it has been changed or updated in the latest release of BAMLI, but for example, when you select a laboratory and when you come here, when you have different sections here, and when you make a search here, normally it searches from your current, the current subsections that you are in. So what we have to do is, if I search for chemistry, it will still bring it, even though like AST is not part of hematology, it's part of chemistry, but the search we have to make it global, because we have a lot of lab tests, and users were getting confused when they try to search something here, and if it's only searching for hematology, because now I'm in hematology, they were getting confused. They were saying that I couldn't find the order. So we have to make the search here, to be global. And when you search for something, regardless of whether it's located, it's found here in hematology or in other sections, it's going to bring it here. So these are the little changes that we have to make to make it more convenient for our users to use the system. The other thing that we have to do is integration with the other system. Mainly, we use the middleware to do that. We use the Mirror Connect for that. So we integrated with our laboratory information management system using HL7. I think we use HL7 version 2.3. I think our LI system supported that protocol. And for the read, we also use to integrate with the radiology information system, and also to send for PACS integration and for generating work lists for radiology modalities. We used ORTANK, which is an open source PACS system. But since it supports it has its own web viewer, we actually used ORTANK to generate work lists for modalities, for machines. So whenever radiology order is when a radiology test is ordered here from the system, so what we did is, since our radiology information system, the current radiology information system that we have, it doesn't have support for work list generation. We have to add that in the AMR. So when somebody orders some tests here in the AMR, the order will be sent to the billing system. So from the billing system, they can come, I mean, after the payment is made, they can come here. So they can make a schedule here. So we added some scheduling feature here. So when you say schedule here, it will allow you to select a date. So when you select a date, it will bring the modality for the machines that are available in the hospital. So they can select the machines and they can save the appointment. So when this happens, the work list will be generated by ORTANK. It will be sent to, when it's requested by the modality for the machine, to be presented, and also at the same time, the reach will receive the appointment and also the order information. So when the results come back, again, they will be visible here in the results dashboard. They will be visible here. So the report will be visible here, and the link here, when they click the link, it will open a web viewer with the image. which is Orkank in our case. We are using Orkank as our PAX server. The other thing that we faced during our implementation has to do with thinking issue between the BAMNI OpenMRS and OpenERP. Since we are using version 0.91, our version of OpenERP is OpenERP version 7. So we had, initially during our deployment, we had issues with thinking between OpenMRS and OpenERP. And again, this mostly has to do with the load that we were facing, especially during peak hours. There were some issues thinking between, OpenMRS and OpenERP. So the atom feed events from OpenMRS were not syncing. Sometimes they were not syncing to the billing system. So for this, I think from what I remember, I think we had two issues that we faced that resulted in this syncing issue. I think the first one was, if I remember correctly, so there are different types of OpenMRS events. I think you're already familiar with this, so I'm not going to go through that. But whenever you save an encounter, a visit atom feed event was being generated in OpenMRS. I think this has to do with because in BAMI, through configuration, I think you are allowed to see a patient without a visit being started. So when you save the encounter, the visit will be started. So that's allowed in BAMI. But the problem was, even if there is an active visit, so the atom feed event for the visit was being generated. I don't know if this was fixed in the later versions of BAMI, but the problem for us was during peak hours, we had a lot of encounter fails. As I told you before, we saw around 2,000, 2,500 patients per day, and most of those patients, they come during the morning hours. So we had some peak hours. So during those peak hours, there were a lot of encounters being saved. So when that happens, a visit OpenMRS event was being generated. So the OpenERP was lagging behind processing those atom feed events. So whenever a patient's visit was started, so when you start a patient's visit, that visit has to go to the billing system. So that was also one of the customizations that we have to do. So when the patient visit was started, it has to go to the billing system, it has to go to the cashier, and the patient has to pay. But the problem was, since a lot of visits events were generated, some of those things were being delayed. So when the patient goes to the cashier will not, the OpenERP will not yet has not yet processed that event yet. So the cashier will not be able to see that order for registration. So I think we have to make a customization there. We have to make a little bit of a customization there so that if there is an open visit, then the visit atom feed event should not be generated again. The other thing was, for sometimes when an encounter event is sent, OpenERP complains that it could not find the patient or it could not find the visit. For example, for some reason, when the patient is created, if the patient doesn't sync to OpenERP, or if when the visit was started, if the visit doesn't sync to OpenERP, so the patient can go to the doctor can, for example, order a lab test. That's an encounter event. So when the encounter event comes to OpenERP, if it cannot find the patient or if it cannot find the visit, that will fail. Like, it's not going to generate the order. So I think for that, what we have to do is, so if the encounter fails, it will try to create the patient, and it will also try to create the visit, and also try to create the order. I think we have made some customization in the I think uh, uh, in the OpenRP sync service. I think I forgot the name of the service, but we have to include when an encounter event is sent, we have to include the patient information and also the visit information so that if OpenARP failed to find the patient, it will try to create the patient. If OpenARP failed to create the visit, it will also attempt to create the visit and also then create the encounter and its associated order that came with the encounter. So I think these are some of the things that I can remember. As I have told you before, we have made a lot of changes uh, regarding the functionalities of the system, but most of those things uh, are need-based, and the needs are derived from within the hospital. But finally, maybe I might add one thing, which is this thing here on the dashboard. This thing we have added this, I think, 2 years ago. So this is the quick start review display control. So this was also added, based on the request of physicians here. So the problem that physicians were facing. So what this display control does is, so it's going to group, the patient encounter by provider. And so for each provider, it's going to show if the history and examination notes. These are, the forms that are being filled, the diagnosis, the lab tests, any diagnostic orders, and the prescriptions that have been, written by this specific provider. So grouping it like this will make it easier for physicians because the information on the dashboard is a little bit difficult to track because, like you find diagnosis here on the diagnosis, display control. You find vitals here on the vitals display control. Then you find, different parts are grouped differently, but physicians or healthcare providers are used to, the paper format, right? So in the paper format, if you are a provider, so you write the history, then you write your diagnosis, and then you write the investigations that you want to send, right? So these things are in the paper, they are grouped like that. So providers here, they wanted it to be like that. At least they want it to resemble like that so that they can easily see. So for example, like here you can see that, so this provider, the Superman, so at this specific date, at this specific OPD, he saw the patient, and if there is a history note, so if there are forms that are filled for this specific encounter, those things will come here, the diagnosis will come here, the lab orders will come here. So it just groups it by encounter, and it shows it, grouped this way. So I think this might be a nice feature to add, I think, in BAMLI because this display controls, sometimes they can be difficult to, the information can be difficult to track into group by provider and by location. So I think these are some of the things that we have done here. Maybe we can provide feedback. I am interested to see the new version of the new release of Family because I'm sure some of the things that I have mentioned here have already been addressed by the new release and by previous release of Family. So thank you for your attention. So if you have any questions, I can answer.
Thank you, Dr. Biruk. This is great. This looks really good. I had a question. I can see something, with the Walter Kluwer's logo up to date in the right hand corner. Would you like to put some light on that? Yeah. Yes, this one. Dr. Biruk cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Dr. Biruk, we can't hear you. You're on mute.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, so the up-to-date link here is it is just a link. Since we have a subscription for up-to-date here in our hospital, we just put the link here. So if they click the link here, it will open another tab, and they have to sign in here
Already.
and access clinical information. We have a subscription for up-to-date
Got it.
for
Got it.
our hospital. That's why.
Got it. Got it.
Dr.
So this
Birub,
is awesome.
I have few questions. Yeah, so one is like, if I understand right, and all, you are using Orthang as your primary PAC server, right? And how's your experience been through that? And did you face any specific problem in terms of connecting modalities with the Orthang server? I'm assuming that you would have used that plugin, for example, for managing the work list.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, our experience with Orthanc has been good, but we are not using Orthanc as our primary PAC server. So we are using another PAC server, which is a commercial PAC server that we are using as our primary PAC server. But that primary PAC server it has a push feature. So whenever it receives images from modality, it's going to push or forward those images to the Orthanc server. The Orthanc server is primarily connected to the AMR system, but as for generating the work list, we have not faced any issue. So what we have to write some custom scripts, Python scripts, to actually generate. There is Orthanc has the feature to actually to send work lists to modalities as long as you put the work list file or the work list icon file in a specific folder. So that work list file is generated by Mir. So as I have mentioned, we are using Mir as our interface engine. So whenever a schedule is made for a radiology order by selecting a specific machine, Mir will generate the modality work list DICOM file for that specific day. And it's going to place that into a specific folder that Orthanc will be looking for those work list files. So whenever a machine requests for a work list, those are served from that server by Orthanc. So in terms of work list generation, we haven't faced any issue. But Orthanc, we are not using it as our primary PAC server.
Okay. And all the studies, for example, for the radiology procedures, how are you documenting that? Are you documenting anything?
Documenting, when you mean documenting, you mean the results, the reports?
Yeah. All the results, etc.
Yeah. So the results are so we have a radiology information system. We have a separate radiology information system here. So the reports are generated by the RIS system. So the radiologist in the radiology department uses the RIS for its own workflow. So what we do is whenever a radiology order is appointed or whenever radiology order is ordered, it goes to the billing system. So in the billing system, when they confirm the order, when the order gets confirmed, that order will be sent to the RIS. So when it's sent to the RIS, the accession number will be generated, and that accession number will be the order number, which is generated by OpenMRS by me. So we send that as an accession number and we send it to the radiology information system. So when the results are released or when they are published, the radiology information system will send the results back to the AMR or to our interface engine, which is MIRS in this case. And MIRS will collect that information and it's going to populate the data back into the AMR. So the documentation for the reports for the radiology orders is done onto the separate radiology information system that we have here. So
Thank you
did
so
I-
much.
Okay.
Do you get the result as just as a document, as a report, or do you get more structured data? For example, if somebody says like, hey, there is a tumor, for example, do you have this encoded into, say, specific condition or finding? Or
Yes,
it's
yes,
just a,
we get it as a structured data. It's not returned as PDF. It's just returned as a structured data.
okay, nice. Okay, I would probably like to understand more, but we can have a separate call as well.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Dr. Birul. This is very good. As Anshu said, we'll probably have, like to have another separate call.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.